Welcome to the Uncanny Valley podcast. Today we're embarking on a really intricate journey, peeling back the layers of a seemingly quiet English village, King's Abbot.
It looks peaceful on the surface, doesn't it?
Exactly. But underneath, we're looking at hidden truths, shocking betrayals, and the really surprising depths of human nature surrounding the unsettling death of Roger Ackroyd.
And we're working from some fascinating source material here, personal accounts, investigative notes. It's quite a unique set.
It really is. Our mission today is to piece together this fragmented narrative, drawing exclusively from these sources. We want to distill the key insights for you, help you understand the human element behind this mystery.
It's not just a who did it, is it? It's about the psychology, how facts get twisted or revealed in unexpected ways.
Precisely. And hopefully give you a shortcut to being truly well-informed about a case that honestly defies easy answers. It challenges how we think about truth itself.
It certainly does. So where do we start? With our narrator, perhaps.
Let's do that. Let's unpack the opening. We meet Dr. James Sheppard, our narrator, and right away he's got this feeling that stirring times are ahead. You get that sense of unease building.
Yes, and what's immediately compelling is his introduction of his sister, Caroline. She's not just a side character, is she?
Not at all. The description is so vivid, that long and thin nose that quivers when she's interested or excited. It's a perfect image.
It really sets her up. She's presented as this formidable force of observation, but also, crucially, gossip. Her nose is practically a barometer for village secrets.
And it establishes the tone for King's Abbot itself, doesn't it? This place runs on information, observation, speculation.
And she's the hub of that network. It's not just idle chatter either, as you said. She's already completely convinced, without the least foundation, mind you, that Mrs. Ferrars poisoned her first husband.
Right. Based on what? Just her feeling.
Apparently.
Yeah.
And this raises such an important question right from the start. How much of what we perceive as truth is actually shaped by these prevailing narratives? By personal biases, especially in a tight-knit community like this.
Yeah, you see that tension immediately. Dr. Sheppard kind of dismisses her internally, talks about her rushing along without rhyme or reason. He sees himself as the rational one, the man of science.
But her intuition, or her gossip network, clearly holds sway. It highlights that core conflict from the very beginning, objective fact versus local belief versus maybe hidden truths.
And that tension ramps up almost immediately with the first big event, Mrs. Ferrars' death.
Dr. Sheppard gets called over to King's paddock, finds her dead, an overdose of Vironol.
His explanation seems straightforward enough. He says she had been taking it for sleeplessness, a medical rationale.
But Caroline, no hesitation. She immediately cuts through that with, she took it on purpose. Suicide. Case closed in her mind.
Before anyone else even suggests it.
Exactly. And the contrast there is fascinating. You have the official cause of death later, acute gastritis, helped along by drinking too much. But Caroline feels this moral satisfaction that Mrs. Ferrars did poison her husband, and this suicide is almost like cosmic justice.
So her personal theory completely overrides the official findings, or at least exists alongside them.
It absolutely does. It just underscores these deep, unacknowledged beliefs simmering under the surface. Personal theories, moral judgments, they can easily push aside objective facts.
So what does this first death really mean for the story? It's not just a prologue, is it?
No, not at all. It's dismissed as suicide officially, but it becomes this heavy psychological backdrop. It colors everything that follows. It primes the village and us for suspicion. It shows a community where opinions harden into truth very quickly.
It definitely creates fertile ground for misdirection later on.
Precisely. And to really get why this tragedy, and the one that follows, hit so hard, you need to understand the village itself. The social fabric, who's who.
Okay, let's get into that. At the center, obviously, is Roger Ackroyd, wealthy, prominent local figure.
Right, described as a widower. His first wife, we're told, died of drink years ago. He's got this adopted son, Ralph Peyton, about 25.
And Ralph is characterized as, wild, but also good-looking, charming.
Yes, we are all very fond of Ralph Peyton, King's Abbot, Sheppard says. That's key. He's liked, despite his flaws. It makes him a complicated figure right away, not easily dismissed as just the black sheep.
That affection will definitely matter later when suspicion falls on him.
Absolutely. Then there's the connection between Ackroyd and Mrs. Ferrars herself.
Yes, the village gossip mill was working overtime on that one.
Freely conjectured, as Sheppard puts it, that they would marry once her mourning period was over. There was this sense of certain fitness. Two people who had apparently suffered from spouses with drinking problems finding solace together.
It shows how the village doesn't just watch. It sort of prescribes narratives, expectations, even for something as personal as marriage.
Exactly. There's an undercurrent of judgment, of expectation. And then within Ackroyd's own household, Fernley Park, you have this history of housekeepers.
Caroline's favorite topic, apparently.
Oh, yes. A succession of them, each regarded with lively suspicion by Caroline, which tells you a lot about how outsiders or anyone in the position of domestic power were viewed.
Until Miss Russell, the redoubtable lady, she lasted 5 years, longer than any other.
Which suggests she's got some resilience, some way of navigating that scrutiny, but she's still under the microscope, you can be sure.
And then things get shaken up again with the arrival of Mrs. Cecil Ackroyd and her daughter, Flora.
Yes, Roger's widowed sister-in-law and niece arriving from Canada. Sheppard notes how this seemed to put Miss Russell in her proper place. You see Miss Russell going around with pinched lips and an acid smile.
So new dynamics, new potential tensions, financial worries maybe, resentments.
All simmering away. It paints a picture of a household that's already got its own internal conflicts and ambitions bubbling just below the surface, even before the main event. It's not exactly a peaceful haven.
No, it sounds like a pressure cooker, almost. Which leads us right into Ackroyd's state just before his death.
Yes, the narrative moves quickly there. After Mrs. Ferrars' death, Ackroyd is described as a positive wreck, just completely unlike his usual jolly, healthy self.
Sheppard notes he looks wretched, barely eats at dinner, and then he urgently asks Sheppard for a private meeting after coffee.
It's clearly not a casual chat. He's deeply distressed. Something is weighing heavily on him. This dramatic shift in his character is a huge red flag.
And right away, there's this odd little discrepancy. Ackroyd is upset, barely coherent, and vaguely mentions his stepson Ralph being in London.
But Caroline, earlier that day, knew for a fact Ralph had arrived at the local inn, the Three Boars, the day before.
So Ackroyd is either genuinely mistaken, or he's lying, or maybe being misled himself.
Exactly. It's a subtle hint early on about the unreliability of information, even from someone like Ackroyd. And it again highlights Caroline's almost uncanny grasp of local goings-on. Her information network is better than Ackroyd's own knowledge, it seems.
And then comes the confession, the reason for his distress.
The bombshell. In that private meeting, Ackroyd tells Sheppard that Mrs. Ferrars confessed to him she did poison her husband, Ashley Ferrars.
Wow. So Caroline was right, or at least partly right.
Well, Mrs. Ferrars certainly believes she was guilty, but the reason, Ackroyd reveals, is even darker. She was being blackmailed for huge sums.
Blackmailed over the murder.
Yes, and Ackroyd says the strain of that drove her nearly mad. This completely changes the context of her death. It wasn't just despair, it was potentially an escape from this relentless pressure.
So why would she tell Ackroyd? That's a huge risk.
That's the critical question, isn't it? It suggests a very deep trust between them, or maybe utter desperation. A final confession before taking her own life. She makes him, as he says, an accessory after the fact.
And she wouldn't name the blackmailer.
No. She refused. Just asked for 24 hours before Ackroyd did anything, which adds this layer of suspense and dread. What was she planning in those 24 hours?
And Ackroyd feels responsible. He says, I drove her to it. Her suicide. That guilt must be immense.
Crushing. And it makes him vulnerable. It shapes his thinking, drives his need to find the blackmailer. That guilt is a powerful psychological factor.
Which leads to the next crucial element, the letter.
Right. Ackroyd tells Sheppard that Mrs. Ferrars sent him a letter, specifically saying it would reveal the blackmailer's name and he should read it after her death.
The smoking gun, potentially. But later, it's gone.
Vanished. Which immediately screams foul play connected to the blackmail. Someone wanted that name suppressed. It becomes a major focus of the initial investigation.
And Ackroyd fuels the fire by suggesting the blackmailer might be actually among my household.
Which throws suspicion inwards. Suddenly, everyone at Fernley Park family, staff becomes a potential suspect with a motive to steal that letter and perhaps silence Ackroyd.
And even the butler, Parker, seems suspicious. Sheppard notes he appears decidedly shifty, tells a palpable untruth about not hearing a bell rung earlier.
It's another small detail, Parker's demeanor, his lie. It flags him as hiding something, even if we don't know what. These little inconsistencies pile up.
And then, as Sheppard leaves, the encounter at the gate.
Yes, this is pivotal.
Yeah.
He states very clearly he leaves at 9 o'clock, even mentioning hearing the church clock chime as he goes through the gates. Very precise timing.
And he almost bumps into a man, a stranger, near the gates. Hoarse voice, hat pulled down.
Our first glimpse of a potential outside actor. Someone unknown, lurking near the scene at a crucial time. It adds another layer of mystery. Is this connected? Is it a red herring?
That precise timing Sheppard mentions, 9 o'clock, the chime, that feels important somehow.
Extremely. It establishes a key timestamp corroborated by an external event.
Yeah.
But its true significance, well, that only becomes clear much later. It's a very cleverly planted detail.
So the stage is set. Secrets, blackmail, guilt, a mysterious stranger. And then the next morning, everything explodes.
The phone call. Sheppard receives a call. Someone claiming to be Parker says simply, "Mr. Ackroyd has been murdered."
Chilling. But the immediate twist is Parker denies making the call.
Vehemently denies it. So who made the call? And why? It's a huge discrepancy right at the start of the official investigation. It throws everything into question.
And the details of the call itself are significant, aren't they? Where it was made from?
Critically important. It came from the public call box at King's Abbot Station. And the timing is suggestive near the time the night mail train leaves for Liverpool.
So it wasn't random, it suggests calculation, someone trying to establish an alibi, or point suspicion towards someone who might be at the station.
Exactly. It's a calculated move designed to mislead, specifically about the time of death. It implies the murder happened later than it actually did. A brilliant piece of misdirection.
So Sheppard rushes back to Fernley Park with Parker, and they find the study door locked.
Locked from the inside. Key still in the lock. The classic locked room scenario.
They have to break it down, and inside, Ackroyd, dead, stabbed from behind.
With that very distinctive weapon, a shining piece of twisted metalwork.
Which is identified almost immediately.
Yes, as Major Blunt's Tunisian dagger. A curio, something valuable kept in the drawing room.
So the weapon came from inside the house. That narrows things down, doesn't it, to people with access?
It points inwards, suggesting familiarity with the house and its contents. It's not just some random break-in.
And Sheppard, the doctor, immediately rules out suicide. No man could stab himself in such a way.
Right. It's murder, confirmed. That sets the police investigation rolling down a specific path.
And Inspector Raglan arrives, confident in his method. Who does he focus on?
Ralph Payton. Almost immediately. The stepson.
Why Ralph? What's the evidence?
It seems quite strong initially. Ralph was seen near Fernley Park around 9:25 p.m. He fits the profile of someone needing money. Raymond, the secretary, overheard Ackroyd refusing someone money earlier, and Ralph has vanished since the murder.
The disappearing act always looks bad.
It does. And crucially, footprints matching Ralph's distinctive rubber-studded shoes are found outside the study window. For Raglan, that seems to clinch it, the convenient suspect.
But there are those missing items, too. The letter revealing the blackmailer.
Gone from Ackroyd's desk. And later, they realize the dictaphone is also missing. If Ackroyd was dictating, as suspected, that recording is gone too.
So evidence deliberately removed, someone cleaning up, covering tracks.
Precisely. A calculating killer. And then there's that small detail Poirot notices later, but it relates to the initial scene. The armchair.
The one Ackroyd was found in.
Yes. Poirot notes he was pulled out from the desk, then pushed back in slightly. He calls this completely unimportant detail so interesting.
Why? What does that suggest?
It suggests activity after the murder. Someone interacting with the body, the chair, the desk, after Ackroyd was already dead. A tiny anomaly, but it hints at the killer lingering, arranging things perhaps.
And Flora adds another contradiction, doesn't she? About the dagger.
Yes. She insists the dagger was not in its usual place on the silver table when she was looking at it with Dr. Sheppard earlier that evening.
Which directly contradicts the police theory that Ralph described it later.
Exactly. It creates conflict in the witness statements right away. Whose memory is accurate? Is someone lying? It undermines Raglan's neat theory.
So we have a locked room, a weapon from the house, a missing suspect, missing evidence, conflicting stories. A real puzzle.
A complex web. The police have their man, Ralph, but already there are these inconsistencies, these nagging questions, perfect timing for a different kind of investigator to arrive.
And arrive he does. We finally learn who that mysterious neighbor is. The one Sheppard thought was a retired hairdresser.
With the egg-shaped head and immense mustaches.
It's Hercule Poirot. Flora reveals it. The famous detective living incognito trying to grow vegetable marrows.
It's a fantastic reveal. Suddenly, all his earlier odd comments, studying human nature, missing his friend Hastings, it all clicks into place.
His slightly pompous manner, that Sheppard found amusing.
Now you see it as the quiet confidence of genius. It completely changes the game. The local police are focused on Ralph. The obvious clues.
But Poirot's approach is going to be completely different.
Oh, absolutely. His whole methodology, order, method, and the little gray cells, he's not looking for the obvious, he's looking for the hidden patterns, the psychological truths.
And he has that core belief, doesn't he? The one he states at that meeting he calls.
Yes, the round-the-table reunion. He looks them all in the eye and declares, everyone has something to hide. And he watches their reactions, notes how even Sheppard's eyes drop. It's his working theory and his psychological probe.
He's immediately skeptical of the easy answers, too. The fingerprints on the dagger being Ackroyd's own. Too neat, perhaps. The purpose of that phone call, misdirection, Raglan's solid alibis, maybe not so solid.
He warns them about blind alleys. He knows the most obvious path is often the one deliberately laid out by the killer. He's looking for the inconsistencies, the things that don't fit.
Like those items found in the summer house. The quill and the piece of cambric.
Exactly. To Raglan, probably just rubbish. To Poirot, clues. The quill suggests drug use, maybe cocaine. The starched cambric points to a maid's uniform. It hints at secret meetings, hidden activities, completely separate from the main line of inquiry.
Using tiny details to open up entirely new avenues.
That's his genius, connecting the seemingly irrelevant. While Raglan builds his case against Ralph, Poirot is quietly gathering these threads, looking at everyone.
And his method starts yielding results, forcing secrets out into the open, like Mrs. Ackroyd's secret.
Right. Flora's mother. She's showing real anxiety and finally confesses to Sheppard. She was in Ackroyd's study that Friday afternoon.
Doing what?
Trying to sneak a look at his will. She was worried about her and Flora's financial future. Testamentary expectations, as Poirot might say.
So a clear financial motive, or at least anxiety, and she got startled.
Yes, they heard footsteps on the terrace, panicked and rushed out, leaving the silver table where the dagger was supposedly kept open.
Which connects to other things, like Miss Russell finding it open later. It shows how these little deceptions ripple outwards.
Exactly. Her snooping, driven by financial worry, inadvertently becomes part of the confusing picture. It reveals those hidden anxieties in the household.
And then there's Miss Russell and the mysterious stranger Charles Kent. That connection unravels too.
Poirot is digging. He finds out Ursula Bourne's reference was faked. He remembers Miss Russell's visit to Sheppard's surgery, asking about drug addiction. That quill clue starts to resonate.
How does he get her to confess?
Pure psychological maneuvering. He feeds Sheppard a fake story for the newspaper, implying Ralph Patton has been arrested. Sheppard relays this, and Miss Russell's reaction when she hears about Charles Kent being arrested, mistaking the fake news for real news about her son, is explosive.
Ah, so her reaction betrays the connection, and Sheppard had noted the voice resemblance between her and the stranger at the gate.
Precisely. It all comes together. She breaks down and confesses Charles Kent is her illegitimate son, a drug addict she's been secretly supporting, terrified of the scandal if it ever came out.
So that's who Sheppard saw at the gate.
Yes. She met him in the summer house around 9:10 p.m. that night. He left between 9:20 and 9:25 p.m., taking the path towards the gate.
Which gives him an alibi for the murder itself, right? If the murder was thought to be later. And even for being in the study at 9:30.
It completely changes the timeline for that stranger. Kent was confirmed to be at a pub later by 9:45 p.m., so he couldn't have been the person Raymond overheard arguing with Ackroyd at 9:30. It rules him out and blows a hole in one interpretation of the events.
Another secret exposed. And then comes Ursula Bourne's identity.
Caroline's sharp eyes again. She brings Ursula to Poirot, feeling something isn't right. And Poirot reveals the truth. She's Ursula Patton, Ralph's secret wife.
Wow, another bombshell. So she wasn't just a parlor maid.
No, she came from a poor but respectable Irish family, took the job under an alias. She and Ralph married secretly because they knew Ackroyd would never approve him marrying a penniless girl. Unthinkable for Ackroyd.
So that conversation Caroline overheard earlier, Ralph begging Ursula to keep the marriage secret.
That makes perfect sense now. Ursula was determined to tell Ackroyd, and she confirmed she did tell him that very afternoon.
Leading to a stormy interview, which gives both Ralph and Ursula a massive motive for wanting Ackroyd out of the way. His disapproval could ruin everything for them.
A huge motive. And it reframes Ralph's disappearance, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it wasn't guilt over murder, but fear. Fear of being framed, fear for Ursula.
So many layers being peeled back. Everyone has something to hide.
Indeed. And with all these secrets now surfacing, Poirot decides it's time for the finale.
The little conference. The board meeting.
He gathers everyone, arranges the room just so, creates this atmosphere of tension, of inevitable revelation.
And he reminds them all again. Everyone has something to hide. Which they now know is true. Mrs. Ackroyd, Miss Russell, Ursula.
It puts immense pressure on anyone still holding back. And it works. Flora confesses next.
What does she confess?
Stealing the 40 pounds from Ackroyd's bedroom that day. Not because she was destitute, but out of, well, weakness, desperation, lying, cheating, running up bills, she says. It just poured out of her.
And Major Blunt tries to cover for her.
Astonishingly, yes. He tries to take the blame for the theft, which reveals this deep, hidden affection he has for Flora. A really touching, unexpected moment of loyalty.
So many hidden emotions in that house. And then Poirot explains the dictaphone.
Yes, he revisits that theory. The conversation Raymond overheard at 9:30 p.m., the one with the oddly formal phrasing, that was Ackroyd dictating his thoughts into a machine.
Which explains the wording perfectly. Calls on my purse. It sounds like dictation.
Exactly. And that dictaphone was later removed by the killer. This solves the puzzle of the 9:30 p.m. argument and points to incredible premeditation.
And then the biggest surprise entrance.
Ralph Payton appears.
Yeah.
Poirot tracked him down. Where? A nursing home. A sort of mental institution near Cranchester.
How did Poirot know to look there?
Because Dr. Sheppard sometimes sent patients there. And Caroline, in her innocent chatter about local affairs, had mentioned this fact to Poirot earlier.
Incredible. Using gossip to find the missing suspect.
Poirot misses nothing. So now, everyone is assembled. All secrets seemingly revealed. Ralph is cleared of immediate suspicion by Poirot's logic.
And Poirot is ready. He says, "The murderer is amongst us. I know now." He even holds up a telegram, a final piece of confirmation from an American steamer. The tension must be unbearable.
Absolutely palpable. And he points to the crucial flaw in the established timeline, the thing that first made him suspicious, that discrepancy in time.
Sheppard's departure time.
Exactly. Sheppard said he left at 8:50 p.m., but claimed he heard the church clock strike 9 as he went through the gates, a 10-minute window.
Implying he actually left earlier. No, wait. If he heard it strike 9 at the gates, but left the house at 8:50? That doesn't make sense.
Precisely. It implies he was still near the house at 9 o'clock, not leaving the grounds. Or that his whole timing was off. That 10-minute window, or the contradiction itself, was the key. It allowed time for him to double back. Unseen, perhaps.
That tiny detail.
That tiny detail unravels everything, and Poirot delivers the final, stunning revelation.
The narrator, Dr. Sheppard himself, he's the murderer. He's the blackmailer.
Our trusted guide, the one telling us the story. It turns the whole narrative on its head. The manuscript we've been reading is suddenly revealed as a meticulously constructed lie of omission.
Unbelievable. So what was his motive? Why blackmail Mrs. Ferrars and kill Ackroyd?
He knew about Mr. Ferrars' poisoning because he was the doctor. He used that knowledge to blackmail Mrs. Ferrars, but he lost the money, speculated badly. When Mrs. Ferrars confessed to Ackroyd and mentioned the letter naming him, Sheppard was trapped. Ackroyd knowing meant exposure, ruin.
So he killed Ackroyd to silence him, to protect his secret, his reputation, everything.
A desperate act of self-preservation. Cold, calculated. He saw Ackroyd reading the letter, knew his time was up.
And the dictaphone, the phone call.
All part of the alibi. He murdered Ackroyd earlier, before 9 p.m., went home, came back later after establishing his own alibi, perhaps when he met the stranger at the gate. He likely hid in the study after the murder, then slipped out. He staged the scene, took the dictaphone, which proved Ackroyd was alive after Sheppard supposedly left. The phone call, made by an old patient on an American liner who owed him a favor and could make the call from the port near the station, created a false time of death around 9:45 p.m., confirmed by the 10:15 call long after Sheppard was supposedly safely at home.
An incredibly elaborate, carefully constructed plan, using his position, his knowledge.
In the manuscript itself, that's the final chilling piece, his detailed account. It was designed as the ultimate misdirection. Strictly truthful in what it included, but omitting the most crucial facts, his own actions. His reticence, as Poirot called it, was concealment. He wrote himself as the helpful Watson, while being the hidden Moriarty all along.
Wow, what a journey. The sheer audacity of it, the murderer controlling the story, writing himself innocent.
The ultimate unreliable narrator. The genius wasn't just the crime. It was the cover-up embedded in the narrative itself.
It really makes you question everything, doesn't it? Trust, narration, how easily we accept the perspective we're given.
Absolutely. It shows how the most clever deceptions are often hidden in plain sight, just woven into the story we think is real. Poirot's method, his good dog approach of following the scent no matter where it leads, even to the most unlikely suspect, is what breaks through that deception.
So the takeaway for you, listening, it's a stark reminder, isn't it? Question perspectives. Look for those tiny inconsistencies, the discrepancies in timing or testimony. Remember that even the most trusted voice, the most objective-seeming source, might have a hidden agenda.
Definitely. We're surrounded by narratives constantly. Being able to look critically to see the potential gaps or manipulations is crucial.
Which leaves us with a final thought to mull over. In a world saturated with information, how do we ever truly discern the authentic narrative when the storyteller themselves might be the ultimate unreliable narrator, shaping the story for their own ends?
A profound question. It suggests the truth isn't always just hidden. Sometimes it's actively being rewritten by the very person claiming to reveal it. It really invites us all to be more discerning, more critical readers of the world around us.
Thank you for listening to the Uncanny Valley podcast. Join us next time as we delve into another complex story hidden beneath the surface.